So we're back with the third and final installment of this fishing down on the canal on February 10th of 2017. And in this episode, I'm going to go through the carp and catfish that I snagged. So this is when I first got down here to the canal. I was pitching my little jig up in this hole. And wasn't too long and I hooked up with this big carp here. And it was pulling pretty good. Tell right away I snagged a carp. And on this 4-pound line, these fish really put up a fight. Gotta be fairly careful so I don't snap them off. More times than not, when you snag these carp, you'll fight them for a while and then they'll just pop loose. I'd say that happens at least half the time, if not 3/4 the time. But I got this one hooked pretty good. It takes a little while to wear this fish out, so where I can get him in here and get my fish gripper hooked up on him. And you hook these fish in the back half of their body, then they'll really fight. You can just feel that tail swishing back and forth when you're pulling these fish in. These carp are just thick in this canal. You can see them swimming by you pretty much constantly when you're fishing down here. So they move back and forth between holes. And they're pretty much just everywhere. So it's no surprise that we end up snagging quite a few carp here while we're fishing this day. Even using a jig with a single hook, you're just constantly bumping into these carp. And we finally got this fish in up to the bank here. The problem with having them snagged is you don't have them in the mouth, so it's hard to position their face where you can get a lip lock on them. But I get down here, got this fish kind of pinned up in these rocks. And eventually I get a lip lock on it. It's a pretty good sized carp. Probably in the 6 to 8 pound range. Didn't weigh any of these carp on this day, but put up a good fight. Pretty big carp to be catching on 4-pound test. So we'll let this fish go and get back to fishing here. Not too much later, and we hook up with another big carp here. Once again, this one is gonna pull us around this hole here. Bend my poor little pole way over and stretch my light line to its max. As my little hook on my 1/8 ounce jig digs into a fin or scale or something on this fish, and manages to hold on while we get it in here. So we prepare to land this fish, get the pliers and the fish gripper ready. So this fish continues to fight and pull and struggle trying to get loose from my bait here, my hook. But to no avail, he's hooked good. Try to pull this up here where I landed the first one. Thinking I'd be able to land this one too, up in here. But I struggled to get him to get a lip lock on him here on this side. He doesn't want to cooperate. Ends up taking off. And I have to land him on the other side of these rocks. So we get him up in between these rocks on the other side. Thinking we can get him here. But he's pointed out toward the middle of the canal, so I struggle to still get a lip lock on it. And eventually it takes back off again before I can get it locked up with the fish gripper. And goes back out into the canal before we pull it back up in here again. And this time I'm able to position my rod and line in a way that I can get a lip lock on him and get him landed. Another pretty good sized carp. Again in that 6 to 8 pound range, I would imagine. We'll let this fish go to fight another day. Get back to fishing again. Again, it doesn't take long, and we're hooked up into another carp here. Another pretty good sized one. It's pulling pretty hard. Gotta give it to these fish, they can pull. They have some power. That strong tail. They're kind of fun to catch. Especially when it's just one after another. I don't imagine it would be too hard to target them with corn down here if you're really wanting to catch them. They're thick enough that you would think you would catch one about instantly when you drop it down in there. But I was not targeting these carp this day. I was trying to catch bass and walleye and hopefully some crappie. Maybe some white bass, but didn't find any white bass this day. The only crappie I caught was one I snagged, and it was a small one. If you watched my other video, you know I caught some bass, largemouth and a smallmouth, and 3 walleye. And if you saw the gar video, snagged a lot of gar also. So it was a fun day, caught a lot of fish. So I got this one lip locked here. Another pretty good sized carp. Probably at least 4 or 5 pounds. Pretty hard fighting fish. Get it back in the water. Get back to fishing again. As we hook up with another one. This one is not quite as big. Still got a little spunk to it. So we get it up to the bank here. Get this fish landed up on the bank. Get it unhooked here and back into the water. Not a real big one. Kind of fun to catch though. As they get smaller, got a little dude here. And just bank flip this one. Unhook it and toss it back in. Hooked up with another little one. Flip it up here on the bank. Get it unhooked. And back in the water. So then we hook up with the last carp of the day. Just a little one. Flip it up here. Get the hook out of it. It falls back down into the canal. Then we somehow snag a little tiny channel cat. There must have been a big old school of them down there. I snagged this one. And then I turned around and snagged another one. Basically in the same spot. On the next cast, I believe. And that was it for the canal fishing. We'll get back to bass fishing after this on the next video. Hope you enjoyed this. And we'll catch you on the next one.